Hey flosstube, this is Mev back from Paris. It's been only a few days since I filmed my first ever video, and I think I posted it yesterday morning. Today is Sunday, March 25th, and I thought first of all I would film in daylight, which is much better, and I would actually show you some real stitches, which I haven't done. In the first one I fumbled with inserting pictures, and I realized afterwards that I don't know why it was only partial. So the effect is nice, but you don't see the whole thing, which is rather useless. So here I'm back with, I'm going to show you in real life the two little chatelaines that I have finished, and also I mentioned in my first video a petite point pattern that I did a few years back, and that my aunt was in the process of framing, so to speak, and I thought I'd show it to you because it's really fun. I like it. So first off, the two chatelaines. So the first one I finished was one I don't have, by the way. It's called Boudoir Fan. I put a picture in my first video. It's been gifted, so I don't have it, and it's been fully finished with actually not really a frame, but I put it on some thick cloth and then actually glued it on cardboard, so it's like a tiny little frame, but with actual no borders. Anyway, so the one I have here is arabesque, and the colorways are completely different from what was charted, and I probably took some license with the beading and stuff. So let me just try and show you what it looks like. So this is the finished piece. I've used Atalie Soie silk. I've used some variegated cotton from flosstube, which is a French lady. And as you can see, I did some beading. So there are two types of beads. The middle ones, I don't know if I can show this to you. Yeah. So the middle ones here are just Miyuki 11O seed beads, and they have kind of a sheen to it. So they're red, very close to the actual fabric, but they have a sheen which reminds, in real life, this blue-green thread, which is really cool. And then in the corners, the other way around, Mev. Where am I? There you go. So here in the corners, these are delica beads, 11O delica beads, so more cylindrical, and I've put 9, as you can see. On this thing, so the colors were picked by my mom, who's a real artist, and I think she did an awesome job. I like this piece very much. There are some metallics, so the border here, those little squares that are kind of specialty stitches, these are, this is silver metallic by DMC, and since I've done this, I've heard you say how DMC metallics were difficult to work with, to say the least, and I concur. This was hell. I'm not doing this again. So I bought some petite treasure braids for any next project that I would have that uses metallics, because I'm not doing this again. Anyway, so this is arabesque, designed by Chatelaine, and yeah, I'm really happy about this one. The second one, or the third one rather, that I did is the Tiny Rose Mandala Garden by Chatelaine as well. And so this is how it is. This is what it looks like. It's a little bit washed out by the light. I told you in my first video there's lots of lights in this apartment, and so it's good, but it's also not very good for showing things. So here I've used a mix of DMC, Atalie Soie, hand-dyed, variegated. So basically, let me see if I can, yeah. Here, in this part, in the four corners, I used a silk that is very variegated between pink, hot pink, and greens. And I thought that would be really, really good. I also used a solid Soie silk, and that's the golden parts, and then some other yellow variegated silks. The center is all DMC. Oh no, there's also Sajou, which is an awesome brand. And as for the only specialty stitches that are charted in this design are the eyelets right here, and I love those. They just, I love actually stitching them, and they look so cute. And then you can't really see it here, but the back stitching for the gates of the garden is not black as charted. I used the darker blue from the center of the fountain, so to speak, and I used it here. This is horrible. And I use it here for the gates, and it looks pretty good. Beading wise, I did less than was charted, so you've got golden Miyuki 11-Os right here and at the top of the gates, and in the middle you've got some, it's transparent, again 11-O Miyuki seed beads with a sheen, so to remind the water. So this is it. And again, this is Tiny Rose Mandala Garden by Chatelaine. This one is probably going to get framed. I'm just waiting to find the appropriate stuff to frame it in. The red one, so the arabesque one, I don't know yet. I don't want to frame it classic-wise. I want to do something special with it. To get back to the tiny little petite point patterns that I had stitched 7, 8, 9 years ago, as I said, so one of my very, very dear aunt, I'm going to refer to her very often in this video because she's in further videos even, because she's very important to me. She lives 10 minutes away from where I live, and she's just a wonderful, crazy person. I love her so much. And so she had seen my stitched little African lady, and it's been years since she said, I need to do something with it. And so at last, when I pulled those stitchy stuff again, I took it to her place, and so this is what she did with it. How crazy is that? So these are basically sticks, right? Like, she's got treasures in her apartment. So these are sticks, and so they do the frame, and then what she did is she kind of like sewed the pattern with some linen, very sturdy thread to the actual frame. And what we had done beforehand is, as you can see, this is linen, right? And so it's kind of transparent. So what we did is we glued on, you know, those textile patches that you can hot glue on tears on your clothes. So say you have, I don't know, a tear on a jean, and you'd use this textile that you actually iron on your clothes, and it just glues it right on, and it's pretty stiff, which it's of course opaque, and it's very stiff, so it gives some you know, some stiffness and rigidity to the piece. I'm going to show you the back. It's just blank. It's just black, right? So this is the actual kind of fabric that you iron on whatever fabric you need to patch or whatever, right? And so it makes it really stiff, and plus it just, you know, renders the whole thing opaque. So this is the African lady. I love her. She's so cute. And you see my hand next to it. So it's really tiny. Last word about this pattern and the other one, which was a Japanese lady. I do have those. So these were designed by Le Bonheur des Dames, this very famous Parisian needlework shop, which is also a designer. So I've got both those little charts. Let me just show them to you. The glare. Oh man, this is not good. So this is just Japanese little geisha. She was supposed to be charted on, I mean, like stitched on Aida, but I thought linen would be smaller and more fun. So this is the Japanese lady from Le Bonheur de Dame, as you can see. And then this is the African lady. So as you can see, I left out a few motifs. They didn't want to stitch, like this here, and the same at the top. So these I have with me, and I'm more than willing to give them away. The only thing is, so that there's a chart, and it's in pretty good condition. The very, very bad thing about those patterns is that they're all in DMCs, but the patterns do not, and that's an intention, so do not give the DMC numbers. So you've got the colors in French, which it's not going to be very helpful. You can actually, you know, do whatever colors you wish, but you don't have the DMC numbers. And there were kids, so I do have the flosses, but I don't feel right to send the flosses and then whoever gets it is going to, you know, run out of some whatever colors and stuff. So patterns only, I'm just more than happy to send them away to whomever would be interested in. It's really quick stitch, it's small, so, and it's fun, and it's a little bit exotic. So anyway, if you're interested, just, you know, shout out and I'll just get them through mail for you. I'd be happy to do that. Next, I thought I'd come back to the actual project that I've started for my boss. I'm going to call him VB, which is obviously his initials. So I explained in my first video that his living room in his country house is a bit special, and in this living room he has velvet sofas. I don't know if that's the right word, but anyway, so this is the main fabric of two of his huge couches. It's green. It shows up less green than it should be, more blue. Let me see. This might be a little bit better. Okay, and I thought I needed to do something special, which is not necessarily my type, but there you go. And so I've decided to go ahead and stitch this huge, for me at least, thing, which is called Coats of Arms, and the designer is Stickedien von der Wehenburg, which is a German designer. The website is also in English. I've linked it into the description box from my first video. So if you want, if you want to take a look, they send out PDF files, so it's really easy to get. So this is Coats of Arms. What I've done, I'm going to show you what I've done. What I've done, and I've started by the middle here. My idea being, I'm going to start by the middle because if I don't want to do the whole thing. So this is 600 by 200 stitches, more or less. So this is big for me. This is really, really big. So I've started by the middle, thinking that if I don't want to do the whole thing, then at least I can do like the middle bend and then one and maybe 3 in all or 5 in all or whatever. So this is a chart. As you can see, it's charted to be monochrome in red. Obviously, because of this green velvet fabric, I decided to change completely the colorways. So my base color is this green, which shows pretty well with the velvet. So this is it. This is the base color, and I'm thinking of doing all the borders, so to speak. So all of these here in that green. I'll give a little bit more detail afterwards. And all of the motifs that are in between the borders with those kind of, coats of armsy, fantastical animals or whatever. I'm going to do them in water lilies. And the water lilies that I've picked up are the following. So here's the idea. Base color this is DMC number 319, I guess, yes, 319. This is cotton pearl number 12, which is roughly the equivalent of it's between 1 and 2 strands of DMC moulinet floss. So that'll go well. This is a huge floss, by the way. This is 300 meters or something. This is probably 330 yards. That's ample enough. So that's the base color. And then this is what I've chosen for the water lilies, and it's cool and it's really good. So I'm gonna give you the color names for the water lilies. So this one here is sunflower seed. It shows washed out. Let me see if, yeah, it's kind of difficult. This one here is prairie grass. There's got some greens in there that don't show up really. And then my favorite one, this is Sierra. And in here, the green, the darkest green is like exactly like the DMC. So this is really cool. So this is the idea. And here's what I've done so far. I started last weekend. And again, as I said, oh my, this is not good. Is that going to be better? Started by the middle. I've done the central part of the middle band here, and I'm doing this kind of, it's actually like a unicorn right here, and I'd like to finish it tonight, but I'm not sure I will. So this is what I've done so far. As you can see, the floss is very, very variegated, so it's kind of a surprise of what it's going to look like, because I can't, by the way, this is a shout out to, you know, the real stitchers around the world. I don't know if there's a way for me to kind of anticipate what's going to happen with the color variations. I'm happy with the result. Actually, I'm pretty happy with how this came out, because as you can see, I've got some dark greens here, and they kind of fit with the opposite diagonal motif right there. And then, not on purpose, but this is exactly the same thing here. So the upper corner there just like kind of talks to the lower corner here, which is cool. But, you know, I have no idea how to kind of plan the thing. So, you know, it's going to be interesting to see how it turns out, motif by motif, so to speak. I'm just noticing this is like a tiny little like bird or eagle or whatever head. I didn't even notice when I had my nose on it for many hours. This is so cool. So there it is, my start on Coats of Arms by Stickedien van den Wiehenborg. And so the idea, as I was saying, is that for each band, I'm going to use the variegated water lilies, and then for the borders, I'm going to use DMC. Now, because the color differences are very striking, and in order not to have too hard splits between these parts here and those parts there, what I'm going to do is put a little bit of like, I'm going to use those tiny little motifs here. I'm going to use the DMC pearl cotton, just to have, you know, bits and pieces of green, dark green, to remind, to be like a reminder of what's going to happen in the borders. And in the same way, but reversed, in the borders, what I'm going to do is choose for each borders some parts that I'm going to stitch in the water lilies, so that we have like a smoother transitions between those parts and the borders, so that it's not so stiff and hard, but a little bit smoother. Anyway, so this is the plan for Coats of Arms. There you have it. I've got other works in progress, but I thought I'd do another video for those. My setup is kind of complicated. My place is rather small, and I've got stuff on my couch, but I don't want to make those crinkly noises with plastics and stuff. So I thought it'd be better if, you know, if I stayed focused on one or two things. So yeah, so my shout out or my questions about the variegated sweat thread stands is there a way that that I can sort of plan or anticipate how the variation are going to show up? Which, I mean, if you know, I don't see how we can do that. And so far, it looks really. I'm happy with the results, so that's cool. Um, the other thing is I'm just freaked out because it's so big. I hope I'm just gonna, you know, I'm not gonna let go before I actually do something. Again, I've had a few hours last Saturday, a few hours last Sunday, a couple of evenings, and then again sometime yesterday and today. So we'll see how it goes. The other thing I wanted to talk about that I haven't mentioned in the first video. Well, I just mentioned it real quick, but I'm going to put a link below. So Soie, as you know, is a French silk thread brand. They're beautiful. You all know them already. And I've purchased, so the variegated silks that I've used for the small tiny rose garden chatelaine are from Atalie Soie, which is a French dyer, and she does beautiful things. If you're interested to have a look, and they're very cheap or inexpensive rather for silk threads, especially using Soie threads. So even for you guys in the U.S. or in Canada, or for that matter in Australia, I think if you're interested, it's worth checking the website because the prices are very reasonable and the colors are just magnificent. I should have grabbed a couple of them just to show you. I'll do that next time. So that's Atalie Soie. And then the other thing I wanted to talk to you about, and I mentioned very briefly in my first video, is the local needlework shop that I discovered, which is not in Paris where I live. It's in I would say the far suburbs. It's roughly 20 miles out of Paris. It's in the middle of nowhere because you have middle of nowheres, 20 miles out of Paris. I had to take a car because there are no trains, no suburban trains whatsoever that go there. It's a tiny little village, and for you guys out in the New World, or even in Australia, I guess, it's like postcard little village, basically. So you've got the church, of course, probably, 16th, 17th century. And then you've got a few houses, you've got probably a post office and maybe a tiny little town hall, not even sure. And right there, by the church, is an old farm, just a regular 18th century farm. And this lady just used to have a shop in Paris. She settled her shop within this farm, so in one of those dependencies in the farmyard. And so it's an old traditional building in which she put all her treasures. And oh my God, it's just heaven in there. She has a lot of threads, which is why I wanted to go. So this is where I kitted up the coats of arms, and I've kitted up another project that I'll show you in another video. She's got lots of American dyers for threads. This is cool. So she's got Gentle Arts. She's got water lilies. She's got crescent colors. She's got also French dyers. So flosstube that I mentioned, Atalie Soie as well. She's got the all the DMCs, obviously, in pearl cotton, in moulinet, and whatever. You have it. She's got tons of patterns. Tons and tons and tons of patterns. Essentially European, but she's also got some very famous American sampler designers, so Plum Street Sampler and that kind of stuff. She's got Italian designers as well. Anyway, at some point I'll show you some stuff that I've bought there and kitted up and ready to be stitched. That's another thing about the stitching. It's very, very difficult for me to stitch more than 2, maximum 3 projects at a time. It's like my brain prevents me from going from one to the other, or from starting one project if I already have 2 or 3 on the go. And so currently I've got, in reality, 3 works in progress, 4, and this is already too much for my own standards. So, which is not good, because I'm dying to start a little Plum Street sampler that I love, but first I want to finish another project that I've started, and I'll show you soon. And the idea being, I'm gonna have this huge project, which is coats of arms, and to kind of take a break from time to time, I want some smaller things, like fun things to stitch. So first of all, I've got a dragon in progress, which again I'll show you soon. So I need to finish this dragon to start the Plum Street sampler pattern. The thing is, each time I come back home after work and I say, okay, tonight I'm not doing coats of arms, I'm taking the dragon, and then I say, well, yeah, but if you do that, the coats of arms is never gonna see some stitches, and you'll never see progress. And so I end up taking coats of arms, and so the dragon's not gonna get finished anytime soon. Anyway, it's like, the never-ending circle thing. So catch-22, if you will. So I don't know how to get around this. I might be tempted to say, okay, such and such day of the week, I do the dragon, and I stitch the dragon, and all the other days of the week I can stitch the coats of arms pattern. We'll see. But then that will probably give me the impression that I'm stuck in something. I hear a lot of you talk about rotations, and as much as my over-organized brain likes the idea, part of me says, if I'm bound to something, I'm gonna freak out. So, I don't know, catch-22 again. I don't know how to do this. So this is it for the stitching, I guess. I'm tempted to answer 1 or 2 know your stitcher tag. I took a look, I looked it up yesterday or the day before yesterday, just to see what kind of questions. I've answered some of them in my first video. So I'm French, I live in Paris, I am 44, I don't have any husbands or wife or kids or pets. This is going to make some of you scream, I'm not an animal person. So it's me on my own in this little 1-bedroom apartment that I love so much. I don't know if you can see behind me the other way. This is my 450 DVD collection. So yeah, I can watch some stuff. But now I'm on flosstube all day long, so I don't have time to watch my DVDs anyway. And I work in a big software company, so it's a software editor, specialized on software for the financial institutions and banks and whatnot. Not very fun, but I've been working there for 17 years now, for the same guy, and we have this perfect professional relationship. I've mentioned him, so I'll call him VP. We work so well together, and we've been working together longer than he's been, married twice. I won't get into this, but and this long-lasting professional relationship is why I'm still there. It's exceptional, and there are not many mornings when I don't want to go up and go to work. So I know I'm blessed with that. I'm a lucky one to be able to say this. And my free time is very free. So whatever takes my mind crafty-wise, I can do, and I don't have many constraints. I do visit my parents regularly, and they're on the countryside, so I go over there on weekends pretty often, say once a month. I also volunteer at my aunt's work. She's a social worker, right, like literally 2 minutes away from where I live, so that's very easy. She tends a garden, and the idea being that it's right in the middle of a big low-income housing project. Loads of people, loads of origins, pretty underprivileged families. And so there's this huge garden right in the middle of this housing project, and her job is basically just to, you know, bring people out and actually do some gardening and do whatever kind of stuff she organizes with the kids and everything. Just to let you know, for instance, yesterday, Saturday, a week from Easter, we had this awesome moment. For 3-4 hours, we actually decorated Easter eggs with the kids, and dyed the eggs, and did many things, many different things. And so this was all outside in the garden, in the actual garden, and it was just awesome. And I do that as often as I can. She organizes those tiny little events at least once a month. So, and that's on weekends. So I'm there very often. And for someone who has a very boring desk job, and plus a job in the fast-going capitalist world, giving some time to people that don't have as much as I have, and being able to share so many cultural differences is, I think, another blessing. It's very, very, very important for my equilibrium, if you will, and I'm happy to be able to do that. So yeah, so this is me, a little bit of me, and this video is already 32 minutes, so I'm gonna stop here. I put a lot of links to other floss tubers that I watch regularly and that I like very much. In my first videos, I probably won't do it again in this one, but I'll try to to reference or to give details as each time I mention something, which, by the way, makes me think that on top of this French hand dyer that does Soir hand-dyed silks, I am going to link, I'm going to put the link to this farm/needlework shop website, because she has one. It may be translated in English. I'm going to check first. If you want to check it out, there are some pictures of the place if you just want to take a look, because I know that for some of you it's gonna look quite dainty and or exotic. So this is it. We changed to daylight savings times today, us Europeans. So we've lost an hour, but the good news is it's 6:30 p.m. and there's loads of light still in the house, which I love. Which also means that each time I don't get out of work too late, I'll be able to get some daylight stitches in, which is excellent news. So this is it for today. I hope some of you will get to see this and some of you will be interested. Let me know if I do some stuff wrong, or if you want to know more about some of the projects. I think I'll be back soon, hopefully, to show you my other works in progress and maybe the projects that I want to start as soon as I can. In the meantime, stitch well and be kind. Au revoir.